We're here today on this week's episode of Muses, this opportunity that we take every week to join together from different backgrounds, different specialities, and just bring forward whatever it is that's on our hearts, in our field, that is flowing information for us to share with the collective to help the planet at this time, this crazy time. We're a couple short today, but we've got... We're batting 50%. Is that a thing?
Oh, it is. It is. But we brought big personalities today.
We did. Here today with my beautiful goddess friend, Chris Alyssia, and I'm Stephanie Victoria. We're coming together. What are we talking about today? I know we've got some stuff floating around in our fields. We've been chatting just a little bit before the show.
Yes. Today is all about us versus them, duality, that great black and white debate about the world. You know, we're either happy or we're sad. Things are good or they're bad. We're right or we're wrong. And for anybody who's watching, I am so fucking sick of this shit that
Can we be over it?
I am so over it.
Can we be over it? I want you to rant. I want you to just get it out, and I'm going to take a minute and share because people are going to want to see this.
So this is a huge soapbox issue for me. Everything that you see on the media, every conversation that I've had recently, every random person that shouted at me on the street when I'm walking by, that was my heel, by the way, that was banging against that thing. I'm just going to keep going. It's all crap. We're screaming and getting emotional about things that do not exist. Us versus them is not real. White and black is not real. In fact, white is the culmination of all colors. Black is the absence of colors. They're not colors. They don't exist. They cannot exist without, it's such crap. There is no such thing as two. Even in the Bible, it says the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In alchemy, it is as above, so below, as within. There's no such thing as two. And yet we go through life categorizing every element as good or bad. You are like me, or you are like them. You are with me, or you are against me. You are rich, or you are poor. These statuses, these labels that we give ourselves, that we're quite frankly taught to give ourselves and everything around us, is just garbage. All it does is create separation. And separation and duality are lies. They do not exist. And I am so over the Democrats and the Republicans shenanigans. I'm quite frankly over this, the black community versus the police argument, because there is no such thing as right and wrong. There are shades of gray that go over everything. And if we can't have discussions about what makes us different, about what makes us the same, then we're never going to accomplish anything. And I'm so sick of this debate getting to the point where we cannot compromise with each other anymore, that we can't even talk to each other without arguing anymore. And that is all duality. It's a form of toxicity. It's putting toxins in your system, making you angry, making you sad, making you feel alone, when it's just complete garbage. I can go on and on and on about it forever. And I get so angry about how the world has essentially divided itself down lines. We've got like this weird trench warfare stuff going on here, and I cannot handle it. I would ask anybody out there in the world today, do you agree fully 100% with either political party? Do you agree 100% without fail with any of the debates about Black Lives Matter versus the police department? Is there anything that you see in the media that you agree with wholeheartedly without debate?
That's a yucky question.
And we're scared to ask ourselves these things. We almost feel like we have to choose. But that in itself is a lie. You don't have to be Republican or Democrat. You don't have to be pro-Trump or anti-Trump. You don't have to be pro-abortion or anti-abortion. That demand from society for us to choose what side of the trench that we fall on is garbage. It does not exist.
You have to pick a side.
I don't like sides. I think they're crap.
You want to know what my husband always says? Because this is all, I mean, it happens all the time. It's one of those conversations that you can't escape, and especially this time of the year, every 4 years.
Yes.
Right? So the common answer is, I don't have a side. My guy always wins. Like,
I mean, even saying winning and losing, that's it's so ingrained in us that we have to be or not be.
mm-hmm.
You know, we have to win or we're going to lose.
But if you can think of it in terms of, even if I lost, I'm still winning, because you never lose the lesson. If you can shift the perspective, it's the words. It's so gross.
It is, absolutely. They've created all of these wonderful words for separate. And I don't like any of them. I want the world to stand up and say, enough. Tell the media to shut up. They don't represent our views. They don't represent the real world. They represent a business. They are a business. They are there to get ratings. And the best way to get ratings is to make people emotional. So there is no middle ground on anything. It's right or it's wrong. And we buy into it. It's almost subconscious. It's like we eat it, we drink it, we sleep it, to the point where now we're parroting news reporters that are just trying to make a dime. They don't care what we think or feel. They want our money. And that emotion, you can see it getting more and more heightened to the point where, I mean, every generation has had its great duality debates, right? We've had religions, which were huge for centuries, men and women, black versus white. And to see them all coming to a head at the same time and creating these new dualities to the point where our own government cannot function because they cannot compromise. It would go against what they're being taught, which is it's us or them. So our government will not function. It cannot function. It is broken. It has to be broken because there's no such thing as compromise anymore. There's no such thing as gray or every other freaking color of the rainbow. It's just black or white. It just blows my mind that we've gotten to this place. And we talk about it mostly at the end of the shows when we're just kind of vamping, that everything feels like it's coming to a head, like this just volcanic pressure building up until it's going to spew all over the place.
Yep.
And what is feeding it is the fact that we're buying into this belief that we can be right or we can be wrong. And there's nothing in between. We have to choose a side.
How do we get a refund on that?
I honestly keep my money. I'm done.
I don't even want the refund.
Keep it. I'm good. I'll consider it money well spent, and I'm moving on to the next thing. And I would charge every single light worker out there to have carry that same torch, that duality is not real. It does not exist. When somebody's making you choose, what are they making you choose for? What's the point? Do you agree 100% with everything on that side? If not, then why in God's name are you fighting? What are you fighting for? That heightened emotion that is causing us to lose sleep, to lose jobs, to lose relationships. I cannot overestimate how many people have lost relationships because of the Trump anti-Trump shenanigans.
Oh, tons.
Tons
and tons of people at odds with each other, arguing, bickering.
Right. How has that become? Your political affiliation is now a beatable offense, because if you don't agree with me, I can beat you up. I've seen it on the news. They tell me it's true. Everything they say is valid.
Oh, no, the news knows.
Yeah. They know what they're doing. We've forgotten that it's a form of entertainment, that they are a business. We expect them to have honor when they're telling us these stories because they control so much of our lives.
That makes us the entertainment.
Absolutely right. So when we're out there rioting and we're beating each other and were, I don't even know what they're doing at the rallies anymore. You're going up and you're murdering people. How has this become like an option? Because someone is in a uniform, whether it be military or police or hell, a worker at a restaurant. Does that uniform tell you who they are? Does that mean they've picked a side because they've worn a uniform? And that uniform automatically, when I put this uniform on, I'm a bad person. Where did this come from? And how do we get rid of it? That's the question I'm asking you, Steph. How do we get rid of it? Go ahead.
I think there should be, now, if it was up to me, everybody's TVs are getting unplugged.
You know what? I absolutely agree.
And not just unplugged, like throw them in the ditch, put them somewhere, get them out of your house. Stop staring at the little pretty picture box that's inciting emotion and telling you how to think and what to feel and what to eat and where to go and who to believe and when and why. So much of it is so entangled and entwined in that beast. And it's like you said, it's a job.
Yeah.
It's an industry. This is a money machine. And we're running it.
Yeah.
Like we're watching the narratives and getting sucked into the storylines and being impassioned one way or the other, because those are our only choices. They're the only ones we're given when we stare into the little, right? Like this. I can't.
So how?
That's my answer. Like we got to unplug people.
Yeah.
We have to unprogram people from this programming. How do you do that? How do you get to them?
There has to be it's the power of the people, the power of the mob, which is a very, very real thing, quite frankly. People, when they come together, have incredible power. They have the power to do incredible acts of good or incredible acts of evil. So why would you use the power to be unhappy, to make other people unhappy? How does bashing somebody on the internet make your world a better place?
It doesn't. I just think people are so out of touch with who they really are. This narrative that they've been fed involves them. And it requires them to show up as a particular version of themselves.
Yeah. We need to take back our own power. We've essentially given our power away to the media. And even to the Facebooks and the LinkedIns and all the rest. We give our power to these platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we get out of it? We have given away not just our privacy, but we've given away our happiness. How can you be happy when they're constantly telling you the world is burning? That happiness is a choice. I live an incredibly happy life. And if I watch even The Daily Show, and I loved The Daily Show for the longest time. I think they're freaking hilarious. I love all those shows, but I had to turn them off. Because if I'm getting mad while watching a television program, something has gone wrong. I'm making a wrong decision. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be mad.
You've been made to feel a certain way by an appliance in your home.
And I'm like, this is brilliant, until I start screaming at the screen.
Oh.
And it checks me. I'll still, like, if I'm working out, I'll have the TV on in the background. And sometimes I'll put on one of those programs. And I'm like, oh, it's so funny, they're making jokes about the political system, but I'm getting angry. I don't want to be angry. So I take a step back. I'm like, what in God's name am I getting angry about? This is us versus them. This is duality. They are making money and they do a wonderful job at it. I don't want to feel what they want me to feel. I want a choice.
Did you shut it off?
Absolutely. I watch Modern Family. Love Modern Family. Huge freaking fan of Modern Family. I've always got my books on tape. I am very much a technical person. I've got stuff on all the time, but I'm controlling my emotions by controlling what it is that I put on my book or the TV or searching online. When I feel myself getting angry, I have to check myself. And remember, this is a choice. I am choosing to get really angry and think the world is going to explode. Do you want to feel that way? Do you want to feel like the world is going to perish? Do you want to feel like it's okay to go out and murder people if they don't agree with you, or beat them, or hell, even look at them funny? Is it okay for you to go out and judge someone else? And what religion is that okay? And I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not a religious person, but I've studied them. And all of them have the same tenet: judge not, yes, lest you be judged. And we think of that from like a good moral standpoint, but it's bigger than that. If you're taking your judgments and you're making that your way of life, so that that person that's walking across the street that you don't know is good or bad, you're doing something to yourself. You're changing the chemistry of your body. You're choosing to be upset about a stranger that you know nothing about because they don't care about your judgment. You're doing something to yourself. When you watch the news and you're judging the presidents or the congressmen or any of those other people who genuinely I have to pray for, because I'm trying so hard not to judge them. My judgments don't hurt them. They don't care, but it hurts me.
Yeah.
The news doesn't care what they're saying, but it hurts me. We have to choose for ourselves. Take back your power. You are a divine being. You are not a puppet.
Man, oh man.
I wish there was an easy way to do it.
No.
It's got to be like a movement. It's got to be a movement. We argue about everything in its mother.
Mm-hmm.
I argue duality is not real. It is an illusion to make money, to make power. And the people that suffer from it are the ones who are feeding the machine. That's us.
Yeah, that's every single one of us. I had this, like, while you were talking, I just had this thought that people are addicted to feeling.
Yes.
But the machine is feeding them emotions that don't belong to them.
Yep.
And they don't know what else to feel anymore or how.
Mm. Absolutely right.
It's crazy when you think of it in those terms. And it gave me this vision of, like, you know, being charged by something that you see on a program, a TV, right? It's programming. It's called programming for a reason, guys. You're feeling charged. You're feeling this charge, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be what? Negative, right? And immediately my mind went to food. And I'm seeing this cycle of feeling and activity that we're told is like normal. We see food everywhere. You can't pump your gas without seeing a half a dozen pictures of burritos and burgers and pizzas and whatever it is.
Burritos and beer.
You can't. But to go through that charge and emotion and allow yourself, you're inviting it. You're turning on the TV, you're engaging, and you're in, whether you realize it or not, you're charging yourself up. You're asking for it. You know, we're not stupid. Right. We know what we feel. We know it doesn't feel good, but we do it, and we've done it for so long that we just keep doing it. It's like TV and food. TV and food, TV and food, TV and food.
Yeah, they have a strange
There's such a deep connection there that came through for me. And I'm just seeing that cycle of, like, charge yourself up with the TV, make yourself feel better with food. Charge yourself up with the TV, make yourself feel better with food. And it just goes over and over. And it's crazy because you go to the TV, you get charged up, and they're showing you commercials of food.
You're absolutely
They're
right.
showing you commercials of food, which, let's be honest, is the single biggest factor in how our body operates.
Right.
And we got to add in all of the other important factors like breath and light and activity and all that stuff. But what we feed ourselves our body regenerates new cells with every 120 days. So every 120 days, you are what you ate. And if you're medicating yourself with food to feel better about the way you got charged up every single day of your life, watching TV and the news and whatever shows and whatever it is, whatever, it doesn't even matter what it is because it's all garbage.
Yeah.
Except Modern Family.
Modern Family is phenomenal. But they actually,
it's all garbage.
Our Modern Family reference. So they had one episode where the girl lost her cell phone, couldn't afford to get a new one. And all of a sudden she started noticing how beautiful the world was around her. All of a sudden she picked up a book and she was more calm, and she noticed her parents, and she like fixed her relationships. Of course, it's a 30-minute show, and by the end she got a new phone and checked right back out. But the realism of that is so true. We're like substituting life. We're killing time by watching TV, which is feeding this emotional excitement, adventure, that fight or flight instinct. While you're sitting on the couch, your body is telling itself, oh shit, am I dying because of the amount of adrenaline that's going through my system right now?
But I'm just sitting here.
I'm not even moving. So you're not burning off that horrible fight or flight feeling.
Yeah.
You're feeding it when your system's already shut down because your body's freaking out. It is an incredibly toxic and addictive system.
Oh yeah.
And we've bought it hook, line, or sinker. We train our children to buy it hook, line, and sinker. It is our lives.
I feel like everything that we're talking about plays into, well, let's give it a label. Why not? Why not just give it a label? Have you ever heard of nature deficit disorder?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, see, it's been named.
Oh, that's nice.
Nature deficit disorder happens when we come out of alignment and out of sync with nature, ourselves, because we're part of nature. We're supposed to be in it. We're supposed to have our feet on the ground and our bodies under the sunshine and breathe fresh air and eat good food, eat healthy foods from the earth, eat whatever is at our disposal. But we're supposed to be engaged. We're supposed to be in the environment. We're supposed to exercise and be connected and have our vibration and resonance with the vibration of Mother Earth, the Schumann resonance. And the more time that we spend disconnected from nature, the more we're diving into that disorder, where things start functioning weird and we don't know how to feel and we can't control ourselves. And now we're in a trance because we're completely disconnected from our intuitive nature. We're disconnected from what we're supposed to be, the way we're supposed to function, our natural system management all gets defunct by the constant screen time and the lack of time on the earth and feet in the grass. And I've seen it pop up. Joe and I read a book last summer. I think it might have actually been 2 summers ago, because he was really curious, and we were starting to explore, like, why are we feeling funky? Why are things getting so tense? And it was 2017 or 2018 maybe that we threw the TV out. Like, that's it. It's like we're claiming this lifestyle for ourselves and then complaining about it.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. None. You got to flip it. You got to flip it upside down. And so that's what we did. Now we look like we're upside down to everybody else. I don't care.
But are you happy?
Oh, yeah.
And I think you can go out on the street and ask any 10 strangers if they're happy.
Yeah.
And they're going to give you a million reasons why they're not. Oh, how can I be happy with the... No. Whoa. Happiness is an internal choice. And we are not subject to what is being said or done around us. We are walking bubbles of energy, and we choose how that bubble resonates. don't give that power to other people. Don't allow them to choose for you. I mean, it is genuinely like the Matrix. We are all plugged in and feeding a system in order to get this illusion of life. They are creating what your life looks like.
That was a documentary.
I walked out of that movie. I saw that in college in the theater, and I remember walking out of the movie and the world looked different because it resonated. The truth of that movie resonated on such a deep level that whether you're plugged into a machine like as an embryo and in a virtual world or not, that is what's happening. We are plugged into a system that cannot
energetically
about us. Absolutely.
Energetically. Everybody is energetically plugged in.
It's feeding
you can't see the tubes. You can't, right?
Yes. And the masters who are controlling this whole thing are feeding us an illusion of reality. They're feeding us what they want it to look like in order to maintain control and make more money.
Yeah. That narrative is really important.
And
we have to believe it. We have to buy it.
Yes, absolutely.
We have to buy into it or none of it works.
Absolutely right. If you choose at any point that this is not your reality, it's not.
It's no longer your reality.
And there's nothing they can do about it. You unplug yourself at any time that you want to. You just have to choose. And they can't function without the power of us, of that mob. It's such a brilliant system.
It really is.
And as an individual, there's very little we can do to get rid of duality on a global scale. But we can affect our lives. We can live happily by just not allowing ourselves to be subject to it, by unplugging ourselves. And when people see Steph's upside down world, and they're like, damn, that looks pretty damn good. Maybe I should upside down myself and unplug. Even if you unplug one other person just by living happily and not getting sucked into the drama that is just not real. It just isn't. The world, there are more similarities, commonalities, linkages among all of us, among the animals, among nature, than differences. Period. There always will be. There is no argument about any of that.
Yeah.
It is not right or wrong, us or them. There's just no such thing. It does not exist. And you can choose for that to not be your reality. Like right now, you can say, you know what, that's not my reality. And it's not. It's that simple. Now you might have to choose again tomorrow. Because you might forget. Like you replugged yourself in when you're sleeping or something. That happens. I think I just need to let me plug in for just a second. Unplug again. It is more exhausting to live in their world than to live in the real world. It just is.
So how do you let's talk a little bit about this. How, since we're here, how do you personally navigate through relationships with people that you know are in that place, living it, breathing it, eating it, sleeping, just like you said? I mean, it's everywhere. It's all up in your all your stuff.
Yeah. So
I don't like the meet them where they're at nonsense. And there's that other part of me that's like, well, if I show up 100% in my truth, why am I here? Like, what is there for us to talk? What do we do? How are we going to play this?
Yeah.
So what do you do?
So I live and work in probably the most dualistic community ever invented.
You found me out. That's why I asked.
So I live on the East Coast in DC. I work with the military and I work with the government. Great. They live and breathe this shit.
Yeah, tell me. I want to know.
So honestly, my biggest trick, one, is when, and I've talked to, I was talking to Katie about this when I saw her out in Seattle. I walk into a room happy. I walk into the bleakest freaking rooms with these white walls without windows, and everybody's just in blue or black, suits, and they all just look absolutely miserable to exist.
And here comes Chris, like
And
the
I've got my flowery dress on, and I'm happy, and I've had a great morning, and I'm going to have a great day. It doesn't matter what's going on around me. I'm having a great day. And I walk in there like a freaking ray of sunshine, and it's real. Like, this is not me faking it.
yeah.
But this is something I had to earn too. I used to hide being happy. I used to dim it down because it makes people uncomfortable. They're like, something's awry. The atmosphere has changed. I don't know why it feels different in this room all of a sudden, but I think it's her. So I do. I have conversations. I go in, I'm happy. I make sure that I've checked myself, that I am aware that this is an illusion, that nothing that happens in this room is the reality of my own divine self. And if I feel it, if I start getting emotional, just check it. It's okay. I'm not messing up. Just check it. It's not real. I am a divine being. And then I have conversations with people in that happy state. Conversations that people are saying we can't have anymore. How do you feel about the police situation? How do you feel about Black Lives Matter? How do you feel about Trump? And I just listen. And I'm not trying to convince them. I'm not trying to change their mind. I'm legitimately just curious about what they think. And it's funny how I have had conversations with people around the world, literally, about some of the hottest button topics out there. And they're not yelling at me. They're not getting angry at me. It's not a contentious relationship. We're just having a conversation. And something about the fact that I'm happy, regardless of what you think, regardless of what you say, allows them to have a conversation at a truthful level instead of an emotional level. But at the end of the day, I don't know that I affect anybody. All I know is when I start to feel that icky feeling, I don't want to feel that way. So I'm choosing not to feel that way. I remind myself that I am light. I am light, and none of the rest of it is real.
Yeah.
I don't have to buy into it unless I want to.
That shift in perspective, that it's not you being affected by your surroundings, but you affecting your surroundings.
Yeah. It's intention versus unintentional. The intention will always be more powerful. It's like having a plan versus accidentally doing something. The plan is always going to be more successful. So it's the same thing with being intentional in your life. If you're intentionally unplugging, you are influencing everything around you. You have to, because all the rest of it's just randomly bouncing around.
I feel like that's a really good message for anybody that's listening today that is in that place where they're feeling themselves shift.
Yes.
They're noticing that shift in perspective and consciousness, awareness. And it's a hard place to be sometimes when the people around you are not shifting with you. And something that you just said triggered a memory in me from even a call earlier this week. Just coaching someone through that process and going, hey, you are in charge of this.
Yeah.
This is what you have reign over.
The only thing. Yeah.
That is it. And so all you can do is continue to show up in your brilliance, in your genius, with your love and your understanding. And the people around you, whether they want to shift, whether they're in a place of awareness where they want to step into that shift with you or not, if we're talking about people that are living in the same household together, sharing lives together, you can't help but just show up, and their energy is mingling with your raised vibration. Whether they want to feel it or not, they're going to. They might not be able to explain where it came from, but they're going to feel that shift. They're going to experience it because you're reflecting differently back to them.
Yeah. And it can be abrasive.
Yeah.
or it can feel abrasive, especially if somebody is so locked in that duality fight.
Mhm.
They don't want to give up that illusion. I mean,
No,
that
and
is
that's
so
that,
heartily their truth.
yeah, that cognitive dissonance that comes up and can be well, you said abrasive. I was even going to go as far as explosive because some people don't deal well with it. When something hits them, they're so attached to that story and that place of comfort in the narrative that they've been given about how they should be, that it upsets them like a great deal. It can make people really upset.
Oh, absolutely. I have people that legitimately consider me an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't consider them an enemy because
No.
that's just not my style. But people, I have made enemies in the military because they don't understand what it is. They see it as something bad. I've even been, my whole life, I've been called bitchy, which is just freaking hilarious. So I'm not an angry person.
No.
But I show up and I'm not afraid. I'm comfortable in my skin. I'm genuinely happy. Or as Hannah says on the group chat, I shoot sunshine out of my ass cheeks. I'm literally just a beacon. I'm like a beacon in the dark, and they don't know what it is, but they're genuinely pissed off about it. So I have people that hate me. They don't know why, but they hate me. I'm okay with that. You know, I don't want it to be that way, but this is what I have control over. And I am a happy person. I did not come into this world to live this false reality that the community is feeding me. I choose this. And it makes all the difference in the world. Now, that's not to say that that world has not brought me to tears more times than I can count, because it absolutely has. I've been fired from jobs because of it. I've absolutely made enemies who ganged up to just make my life absolutely miserable. And I used to play Katy Perry's Roar on the way to work just to get that emotion out of me. Like I had to purge this just sadness so that I could maintain my truth, because they just kept firing at me. But I keep doing stuff like this. I keep reading spiritual things and checking myself, and then bringing myself back to center. That's the only thing I can control. I can't control how the world sees it or reacts to it. But I just don't have to go along with them.
No, and don't dim your light.
That is a tough lesson. It is.
That's actually very
in a world,
hard.
and a lot of those worlds, especially like the male-dominated worlds, it's not just that you're a happy person. You're a happy woman. You're a confident woman.
That's 2 strikes.
Oh, that's bad. And I'm fairly smart too, so let's just check that out.
Yeah, and beautiful. You might as well just stop and go home.
I have actually had people ask me, like, why don't you just leave that world?
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm meant to be there. I'm meant to be a light in that dark place. One, the work resonates with me. I'm a protector. You know, if I can serve my country, I'm going to serve my country. So why should I have to give that up because I don't look and sound like everybody else in there? I don't have to make that choice. And I'm faced with that all the time. Like, they're going to make me miserable. They're going to keep making you miserable if you go back. My dad asked me that all the time. He's like, why don't you stop doing this? Why don't you dress differently? Why don't you just tone it down? And quite frankly, I did. I did for decades. And it made me miserable. It sucked me into the matrix. I started feeding the machine just so they wouldn't notice that I wasn't like everybody else.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. It didn't make them any happier. It didn't make me any happier. So you know what? I unplugged. Like, I got to be me. And I'm happy. I'm happy regardless of what's going on out here. And I call my husband the tornado. Because I'm like in my wonderful little bubble. I'm doing my thing. And he comes around. I was like, getting everything moving. I can't control it. I can't stop it from spinning. I can't even stop it from like moving the house. But I can keep coming back. I can keep unplugging. I can keep making my choice.
That tornado doesn't even exist.
It doesn't. He wants it to exist so badly though.
Bless his heart.
He wants to stir things up. He lives very much in that world.
Yeah.
You know, he's retired military. That is what he knows, and he holds on to that. And that's another point of how do you make that work? A lot of people think that once you are unplugged, that you can only be around other unplugged people.
Right.
The world just cannot, it doesn't have to work that way. Again, there's no right or wrong. He and I are polar opposites in a lot of ways. That doesn't make the love any less strong or the relationship any less powerful. It just means that we're not going to convert each other. You know, he's not coming down this serendipity hippy dippy trail with me, and I'm not going down the bashing babies trail or whatever it is that tornadoes do.
Whatever tornadoes do. I'm not coming on that ride with you.
You'd have to see it to experience it. It's pretty amazing. It's extreme.
Goodness.
My world is peaceful and then it's not. But I stay happy throughout it all because that's the only thing I can control.
You have to.
You have to.
What else could you? I don't know. The other options just don't sound that great.
Yeah, I agree.
I've experienced a couple of them, and none of them are all that.
And I don't know if anybody else is in a world that they dread going to work, or hell, they dread being home. We give away so much power in every instance of every day. The traffic gets us, right? The traffic rage out here on the East Coast is nuts. And I will fall into it. If I'm not paying attention, if I'm not being intentional, I'll forget. And I will jump right back into the matrix. I will plug myself back in and I'll start shouting at the car next to me.
Honking and waving.
Do not go in the left-hand lane if you're not passing somebody. It's a law. And then I'll have to check myself. Because I don't want to be angry. Why am I angry? I don't understand it. I don't want to feel it. So let me unplug again.
That's the beauty of it too, that you can unplug as many times as you want.
Yes.
You're going to do it over and over. It's like you turn around and somebody stuck your cord back because you find yourself doing some Jerry Springer type shit.
Yes.
It's like, no.
I just don't have the emotional energy for it. It is so draining. It is so draining to be up in arms all the time.
Isn't that part of the secret though? Isn't that part of the secret to staying unplugged though, is to not allow yourself to get drained?
Yes. I think it's recognition. Understanding when you feel drained, when you loathe going to work, when you are scared to go to work, when you come home feeling exhausted, when you have a conversation with somebody and you're exhausted, when you watch TV and you're angry or crying or depressed, recognizing that emotion and ask yourself, do you want to feel that? It is that freaking simple to it's like practice. You have to build up the awareness in your body and your consciousness to say, I'm feeling something. I don't want to feel that way. Mm-hmm. And it could take days, it could take months, hell, it could even take years. But as soon as you recognize that that feeling is not how you want to feel, unplug. However that looks for you, even if it's just reminding yourself that this world is a drop in the ocean, right? This is not even a fraction of our reality. This is one life in the billions that we will have. It means so little on the grand spectrum of things. So that guy cutting you off in the car next to you, you gonna allow that to just ruin your day?
It's crazy.
Oh, it's just, I just want people to talk about these things, and I want that awareness to get out there, because the more people that unplug themselves, you're not doing it for me. You're not doing it for Steph. You're not doing it for anybody else in the world. You're doing it because you want to be happy.
You've said it over and over too, like checking yourself. I check myself. I check myself. If we're not checking ourselves, if we're not getting in there and going, oh, okay, wait a minute. No, that's not mine. No, I don't. And having that aware moment where we realize how we're feeling and decide whether or not that's okay with us. You got to wonder how many people have never done that.
Ever. I remember when I was a kid learning that I had to double check to make sure my underwear was not tucked into my skirt. I'm not joking about that because it happens, and it only has to happen once for me to realize I got to double check myself before I go out of the bathroom. Why in God's name would I not double check my emotion? Like, let me just, before I go to work today, let me check myself. Feeling pretty good. Or I am super riled up about that news thing that was playing in the background that I wasn't even tuned into, but it got me. I'm feeling angry. Let me check myself before I go out the door. Why wouldn't we do that? Don't tuck your skirt into your underwear. Don't go out angry. You don't need to. It's embarrassing. It's just not something you need to do. It's the simplest thing in the world, and yet it's a foreign concept to most of us.
It is, and it just goes right back to that cord being plugged in.
Yes.
It really does, because if you're absent and your emotions are being run for you, then how do you know? How do you know that's even an option? How do you know that you have the option of not feeling that way if you're so programmed to be plugged in?
Yeah. We're so like chest beating individuals when we want to show the world, like, hey world, look how cool an individual I am. Why don't you do that for yourself? Why don't you have that same fight and that passion for your own happiness? It's just such a foreign concept to me, and I all the time. And the number one reason people work with spiritual leaders is because they're unhappy, right? They're depressed for something is missing in their lives, or they feel that way. How long you want to sit into that feeling? I know I've absolutely been there, and I still fall into it. I'm absolutely not saying that I don't.
Yeah.
I live on the East Coast in DC. I fall into that shit probably once or twice a day, usually when I go outside. But I always have the power to check myself because I have trained myself to be addicted to that happiness. Being happy, being connected to my spirituality, being connected to nature is an addictive feeling. It's giving me the same endorphins that the TV would feed me, just on the opposite side of the spectrum.
And that's what ties right back into that emotional addiction.
Yeah.
Being addicted to the negative emotions. People craving that, and it's just a crave of stimulation. Switch it. Stimulate yourself on the other end of the spectrum.
Yes, it
because
is.
there is a full spectrum. You don't have to feel like crap every single day.
Yeah. It feels powerful. It's easy to fall into it. And being happy is more subtle. There's no bangs. There's no banging on your chest because you don't need to. But at the end of the day, you're not exhausted.
Drained.
Yes. You haven't given your power to anybody. You haven't fed the matrix. You've only fed yourself. And you had a great day. And how can it get any better?
How can it get any better than this?
Such a great manifesting tool.
It really is. It really is.
Life has genuine complications that pop up. Yeah. We're born into families that have toxicity. We have relationships that are toxic. We do not need to buy into what the media or anybody else tells us we need to buy into. Our lives are going to be complicated and challenging for realsies. We don't need to invite in the fake ones.
No, there's plenty of opportunities for struggle and pain. Yes. without the media monster
Yes.
banging down your back door.
Pain will find you. You don't need to watch it on television. I promise you. You'll get great opportunities to unplug without having to go on there and feed yourself this like toxic sandwich every day.
I just want to say too, because it's kind of coming into my awareness now that we're even talking more about it. For anybody that's watching that feels themselves in this like ick and they want to get out, but they don't know how, you just got to stop programming yourself. It brought in this vision of the cycle that happens for a lot of people. I feel like it's the evening. Just sit and stare. Yeah, I did it for a really long time and it made me feel like shit.
Huh.
You're programming whatever you do in the evening with your evenings. You're programming yourself for the next day.
Yeah.
You're bringing that same, you're going to charge yourself up, watch something, the news, whatever it is, before you go to bed.
Yeah, that's our time to worry about the next day, right?
Raise your cortisol levels right before you go to sleep. Sounds like a plan. It sounds like restless sleep, tossing and turning, not really getting the good REM that we need or being fully present in our dream time work. And then waking up the next day already drained.
Yeah.
And looking for a way to.
Yep, you're already stressed out. You're stressed out.
You don't look at my face. I'm like, ugh.
It's terrible. And to say that this was me, it would be a huge understatement because I like to consider myself a high achiever. I wanted to achieve at work. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to get the accolades and all that other wonderful stuff. And that meant every single night as soon as the lights turned off and I finally actually unplugged from all the electronics, now I have time to stress. Like, let me just sit here and think about everything I have to do tomorrow. Oh shit, how am I going to get this done? I got 12 pages of this to write. I got to get that report out. I got that meeting at 11. Holy goodness. It's insomnia, physical pain, eating pain, like stomach issues. It made my body toxic in a way that I didn't understand for an incredibly long time. And I'm still trying to remedy now because I fed that toxicity into my system.
The stress.
Yeah. And there is a reason that so many gurus and ascended masters and everybody else have talked about gratitude, being grateful. It's like being on the teeter-tot, right? That up or down feeling. If you want to be down all the time, that is completely your choice. If you change your mind and you want to be up, remembering what you're grateful for is a really quick way of balancing that teeter-tot. You're like, my life absolutely blows. All right. All right. I do love my husband. Okay. I'm grateful for that. I have a great cat. I'm grateful for that. And even now I can feel it. It changes the pressure in my body. It's such a simple thing. You can tell yourself you're creating your reality. You can tell your life sucks. You can say it and it's your truth. Or you could say life is great and you can focus on what you're happy for. So there's like morning practices of gratitude, writing 5 things that you're grateful for this morning or at night. All you're doing is saying, instead of being down, instead of being in this weird deficit, I'm going to be happy. And you're making that choice. And there are such simple little ways to just flip that script.
That's like reaching for the cord.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's just as soon as you choose that you don't want to be unhappy, that you don't want to be angry, that you don't want to be depressed, don't.
You're going to feel differently about feeding yourself those things.
Yeah.
When you have that realization.
You have to be that way. You have to pick a side. You have to be unhappy. And you're going to be unhappy regardless of who wins or loses because you've bought into all of it. You're not focusing on this. This is the only truth right here. Oh, I told you.
I know.
I wrote stuff like an hour ago. I was like, I've got to do duality because it's a huge soapbox issue for me. Most of the things that I see in the world, most of the conversations that I'm having are all related to this illusion of duality, which is fed by the media, by this whole matrix system that we've created, because nobody's focusing on just being happy, on being loving individuals. When did that go the way of the dodo bird? It's just not real.
No.
When we die, even now, we're thinking with this physical body, but we're predominantly spirit. We're thinking of this lifetime when this is nothing. This is a nanosecond in our existence. Just pull yourself out of that. And you will pull other people out just by proxy, just because they see that your world is upside down, but it looks pretty damn good. Maybe I want my world to be upside down too. And you have no idea who you influence by doing that. And quite frankly, that doesn't matter. You're doing it because it feels better. It's more in resonance instead of that nature depressed shenanigans that you mentioned.
Nature deficit disorder. It's just the name that we created for ourselves to justify, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, you have nature deficit disorder. That's
nature deficit disorder.
Because this is the real thing. This is where we're supposed to be. You got to go back to nature and get a little bit of what? It's like, what?
It's the truth. Instead of that ADD stuff, which is quite frankly mostly made up, it's NDD, nature deficit disorder.
Yes.
Get out in nature. Stop playing with your phone. Stop playing with your games. Stop playing on your TV.
Put your feet
outside.
Yes.
See how your child's ADD changes then when you plug them back into reality and unplug them from the nature.
Not reality.
Huge. And if anybody's watching has any other tips for how to unplug or pull yourself out of that place when you get sucked in, please post them, because that stuff is real. It breaks my heart to hear about the number of my brothers and sisters in the military who are committing suicide every single day, who are on drugs for they think the rest of their lives because they have bought into the fact that they have to be unhappy. They've chosen a side and they've chosen to be unhappy and miserable because they've been told they have to. None of that is reality. We choose our reality. We choose how we go through life. And if anybody has any tips and tricks on how they find happiness in this world of just tornadoes, please post it on Muses, because I am always down to try new tricks.
We would be ever so grateful.
I promise you, I will try what's posted as long as it is legal and mostly moral. Legal, ethical, moral.
Because there is no black or white. We got to make that clear.
If you convince me it works for you, I'll probably give it a try. I could talk to you about this.
Oh, I know.
It's about another hour. And thank everybody so much who is making comments in there. Melinda, Karen, all of our girls from Shasta who are in there. Thank you so much for constantly supporting us. Please share this. This conversation, these conversations need to happen. This is what we really need to talk about, not what the news is telling you, not even what's going on at work that day. That is not real. And the more we recognize the real reality, the happier we will be and the happier the entire world will be. So thank you all so much for joining us. From Steph and I here, and also from Kat and Katie who are in Sedona getting their spirit on. Thank you so much. This has been another episode of the Muses, and we will see you next week, Monday, 2:00 Eastern, 11:00 Pacific, or 1:00 Central for, Steph's people. So until next time, love you guys.